A sentence is spoken across a low table, a deliberate, quiet strike at your integrity, delivered with just enough casual cruelty to let you know they meant every syllable. Instantly, your physiology turns over. Blood rushes to your jaw. Your hands, resting flat against the cool grain of the wood, lock into iron. The air in your throat turns dry and metallic. Then comes the real danger, the immediate, intoxicating flood of moral justification. Within a fraction of a second, your mind manufactures a righteous crusade. Your brain whispers that retaliation is not merely an option, it is a moral obligation. You tell yourself this person cannot be allowed to walk away thinking they can treat people like this. You tell yourself you're stepping into the ring to defend truth, enforce boundaries, and teach an essential lesson. You prepare the counterstrike, searching your internal catalog for the sharpest, most humiliating truth to dismantle them. It feels noble. It feels justified. It is a complete lie. Underneath the high-minded rhetoric of justice, your bruised pride is simply screaming for blood. You are not defending truth. You are defending your self-image. 14 centuries ago, on a scorched plain outside Medina, the dust hung so thick in the noon heat that it tasted like powdered stone. The siege had dragged on for weeks. When the enemy's most formidable warrior breached the trench, challenging anyone to step forward, it was Ali who answered. They circled each other in the heavy, stifling silence of two armies watching from opposite ridges. The combat was brutal and unhurried. Steel ground against steel. The sour smell of boiled leather, horse sweat, and turned earth filled the narrow space between them. Blow by blow, the momentum shifted. Ali parried a lethal strike, stepped inside his opponent's reach, and swept the warrior's legs out from beneath him. The enemy champion hit the hard dirt with a concussive thud, his heavy armor pinning him to the earth. Ali straddled his chest, pinned the man's sword arm beneath his knee, and drew his blade to deliver the final, decisive blow of the engagement. The battle was finished. The standard of justice had been met according to the rules of war. Looking up from the dust, staring down the edge of the steel, the defeated warrior knew he had seconds left. He had no weapon, no leverage, and no escape. With his final ounce of defiance, he gathered the blood and bile in his mouth and spat directly into Ali's face. The wet, warm insult landed square across his cheek. Ali did not flinch. He did not blink. For 3 agonizing seconds, the desert seemed to freeze. Every tendon in Ali's neck locked. The sword remained suspended in the blinding sun. Then, slowly, deliberately, Ali lowered the blade. He took his knee off the warrior's chest, stood up, and took 4 steps backward into the open sand. He wiped his face with the back of his gauntlet, sheathed his weapon, and stood with his hands resting quietly at his sides. The warrior lay in the dirt, completely disoriented. He pushed himself up onto one elbow, coughing against the dust, staring at the man who had just held his life in his hands. "Why did you stop?" the warrior demanded. His voice cracked with confusion and fury. You had me. You had the right to finish it. Why spare me now?" Ali looked at him through the heat haze, his breathing slow and measured. "When we crossed swords," Ali said quietly, "I fought because it was my duty. I fought for a cause beyond myself, with a clean heart and a steady aim. But when you spat on my face, my flesh caught fire. I felt the personal rage rise in my chest. If I had brought that blade down 1 second after you spat, I would not have killed you for truth. I would have killed you for my own pride. I will not make my sword a servant to my ego. The human ego is a master of moral laundering. It cannot bear to see itself as petty, vengeful, or fragile. When someone insults our intelligence, questions our authority, or humiliates us in front of peers, the ego feels an agonizing wound. But rather than admitting that its pride has been punctured, it immediately disguises the wound as noble grievance. It launders our base desire for revenge through the language of ethics. We do this every single day, in arguments that never involve swords, but leave the same internal carnage. A colleague undermines you in a meeting, and you spend 3 days drafting an email that exposes their incompetence, telling yourself you are simply maintaining professional standards. A partner dismisses your feelings during a disagreement, and you deliver a surgical, cruel remark aimed at their deepest insecurity, telling yourself you are forcing them to communicate honestly. A stranger cuts you off or speaks to you with contempt, and you escalate the encounter to the brink of disaster, telling yourself you are refusing to be a doormat. Notice the sleight of hand. The moment our identity feels threatened, our motivation undergoes a silent, instantaneous contamination. We shift from defending a boundary to seeking an execution. Righteous indignation is the most addictive narcotic the mind produces. It grants us full permission to be sadistic, while allowing us to feel completely innocent. It lets us unleash our worst impulses under the banner of high virtue. When we are consumed by righteous fury, we are not trying to correct an error or heal a fracture. We are seeking the intoxicating pleasure of crushing an opponent while convincing ourselves we are doing the work of justice. The diagnostic is simple, but it demands an uncomfortable honesty. Look at what you want to happen to the person who offended you. If your genuine objective is resolution, order, or truth, your internal state remains cold, steady, and clean. You correct the error without needing to destroy the person who made it. But if you feel a dark, humming urgency to see them squirm, to watch them realize how small they are, to make them pay for how they made you feel, your sword is no longer clean. You have been spat upon, and you are now fighting entirely for your own skin. True discipline is not the suppression of action. It is the ruthless, microsecond awareness of your own motives. It is the ability to recognize the precise moment your personal vanity has hijacked the wheel. Put the weapon down. The moment you feel the heat in your throat, the moment the insult becomes personal, stop. Step back from the argument. Close the laptop. Let the silence hang in the room, even if it feels unbearable. Retaliation delivered in the name of bruised pride never restores honor. It only advertises your fragility. It tells the world that a few words, a dismissive tone, or a stray insult have the power to turn you into a puppet. Walking away when you have the upper hand is not weakness. It is the ultimate refusal to be degraded by someone else's venom. Check your hands. If your motive is contaminated by your own pride, drop the blade. Walk off the field.